Tabular form, representing sets with structure. Let's begin. Welcome to this section on representing sets. As you recall from our previous discussions, a set is simply a collection of unique or distinct objects. Think of it like a specific group where each item is different from the others. Now, we've already explored one way to write down or represent these sets. That's called roster form, where we list all the elements inside curly braces. But what if our set gets quite large, or if there's a noticeable pattern to the elements? That's where tabular form comes in. Tabular form is another method for representing sets, and it's especially helpful in those situations when dealing with bigger sets or sets that have a clear, predictable structure. Essentially, instead of just listing everything, we organize the elements into a table with rows and columns. This makes it easier to see the relationships between the items in the set. Over the course of this tutorial, I'll guide you step by step through understanding what tabular form is, and more importantly, how to construct sets using this method. We'll look at several examples to solidify your understanding. So, let's get started with learning about tabular form. What is tabular form? So let's move on to understanding exactly what tabular form is. As we discussed on the previous slide, we already know one way to represent sets, roster form, where we simply list out all the elements inside curly braces. Now, tabular form is also a way of listing the elements of a set, but instead of just a simple list, we organize those elements into a table. Think of it like a spreadsheet. It has rows and columns. This table-like structure is particularly useful when the elements within your set aren't just random, but actually have some kind of relationship or pattern to each other. By arranging them in a table, you can easily visualize that pattern. We'll see this in action with some examples coming up, but the key idea is that tabular form helps make those relationships clear and organized. It's about presenting the set's information in a structured way, which becomes really helpful when dealing with larger or more complex sets. How to construct a set in tabular form. This is the very first thing you need to do. Simply determine exactly what objects belong to the set you're working with. What are all the individual items that make up your set? Think of it like gathering all the pieces before you start building. Once you have your elements, look closely at them. Is there a relationship between them? Do they follow a specific rule or sequence? Perhaps they are coordinates, multiples of a number, or combinations of different properties, like colors and shapes. Identifying this pattern is crucial because it will dictate how we organize the elements within our table. It's like finding the blueprint for your table. Now it's time to build the table itself. You'll need to decide how many rows and columns you need. This depends on both the total number of elements in your set and the pattern you identified in the previous step. For example, if your pattern involves two related variables, you might need 2 columns, one for each variable. If you have a lot of elements related to multiple categories, you might need multiple rows and columns to represent all the combinations. This is where you actually fill in the table with the elements you identified. The key here is to make sure the arrangement reflects the pattern you found earlier. If you've correctly identified the pattern, the table should visually demonstrate the relationship between the elements. Think of it like carefully placing each piece according to the blueprint. Finally, once your table is complete, you need to clearly define the set using this tabular representation. This means stating what the set represents and then presenting the table as the complete definition of that set. We'll see exactly how this looks in the examples on the next slide. So now that we understand what tabular form is, a way to represent sets using a table, let's walk through how to actually construct one. This slide breaks down the process into 5 key steps. So, to recap, these 5 steps, identify, recognize, create, populate, and define, will guide you through constructing any set in tabular form. Remember, the goal is to present the information in a structured and organized way, making it easy to understand the relationships between the elements. Now, let's look at some examples to see this in action. Examples. Let's move on to some examples to really solidify our understanding of tabular form. As we discussed in the previous slides, This is a way to organize sets, especially when they get a little bigger or have a noticeable pattern. Now, let's look at our first example. It says, suppose we want to represent the set A of coordinates x, y, where x and y are positive integers less than or equal to 3. So what does that mean? Well, we're dealing with points on a coordinate plane. Remember, coordinates are always written as an x value and a y value, like an ordered pair. And in this case, both x and y can be the numbers 1, 2, or 3. They have to be positive whole numbers, and they can't be any bigger than 3. The slide then points out that the elements of this set are pairs of numbers. That's right, each coordinate pair, like 11 or 23, is a single element within the set. Next, it highlights the pattern. We can neatly arrange these coordinate pairs in a table. The idea is to dedicate the first column to represent the x values and the second column to represent the corresponding y values. This makes it easy to see all the possible combinations. And here's what the tabular form looks like. It shows A equals an array. Inside the array, you'll see two columns. The first column has x at the top, and the second has y at the top. Then we systematically list all the possible combinations. We start with x equals 1, and then y takes on the values 1, 2, and 3, giving us the pairs 11, 12, and 13. Then we move on to x equals 2, and again y cycles through 1, 2, and 3, giving us 21, 22, and 23. Finally, when x equals 3, y goes through 1, 2, and 3, resulting in 31, 32, and 33. So this table gives us a clear, organized view of all the coordinate pairs that belong to set A. Remember, this is much more structured than just listing them out randomly, especially as the set gets larger. We'll see in the next examples how this organization can be helpful with different types of sets. Examples continued. Let's move on to some more examples to solidify our understanding of tabular form. As we discussed earlier, remember that this is all about organizing sets, especially when they get a little bigger or have a clear pattern. Now let's look at example 2, set of multiples. Here, we want to represent the set B, which consists of the first 5 multiples of 2. So the elements of this set are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Notice that these are simply the first 5 numbers you get when you multiply 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively. The pattern here is quite straightforward. It's just a sequence of numbers. While we could represent this in roster form with curly braces, this example shows us how we can also use a single row table. And here it is. B is equal to a table with 1 row and 5 columns. Inside the table, we have the numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, each in its own column. It's a simple way to visually present this set, even though a list would also work perfectly fine. This demonstrates that tabular form isn't always necessary, but it provides a structured alternative. Now let's move on to a slightly more complex example. Example 3, set of colors and shapes. In this case, we want to represent the set C, which contains all possible combinations of 2 colors, red and blue, and 2 shapes, a circle and a square. So the elements of set C are the pairs: red circle, red square, blue circle, and blue square. The pattern here is a combination of 2 attributes, color and shape. This is where tabular form really shines. We can arrange this information in a table with rows representing the colors and columns representing the shapes. The top row will have the headings circle and square, and the leftmost column will have the headings red and blue. Then, at the intersection of each row and column, we write the corresponding combination. So, in the first row and first column, we have red circle. In the first row and second column, we have red square. Moving down to the second row, we have blue circle and blue square. Therefore, the tabular form of set C looks like a 2x2 table, clearly showing all 4 possible combinations. This organization makes it very easy to see all the elements of the set and how they relate to each other. Remember, the key is to identify the elements and then find a pattern that allows you to arrange them logically in a table. This helps to visualize the set and understand its structure. We'll be looking at common mistakes in the next slide, so pay attention to those to avoid any pitfalls. Key takeaways. Let's recap what we've learned about tabular form with these key takeaways. First, remember that tabular form is simply a method for representing sets by neatly arranging its elements into rows and columns. Think of it like a mini spreadsheet for your set. We've seen how this differs from just listing elements inside curly braces, which is what we call roster form. Next, tabular form really shines when you're dealing with larger sets, or, more importantly, when there's a noticeable pattern within the set. If the elements have a relationship to each other, a table makes that relationship much easier to see. Remember in our examples, like the coordinates or the color and shape combinations, the table helped highlight how those elements connected. And that brings us to the crucial point. The way you arrange things in the table isn't random. The arrangement must reflect the relationship between the elements. If there's a clear rule or connection, the table should visually demonstrate that. This is what separates a good tabular representation from a messy one. Finally, and this is the big benefit, tabular form gives you a structured and organized way to visualize what's inside your set. It's not just a list. It's a clear, organized display that can make understanding the set much easier. Now, before we move on, it's good to be aware of some common pitfalls, which we'll cover on the next slide, so you can avoid making those mistakes when you're working with tabular form yourself. Common mistakes. Remember, we discussed earlier that a set is simply a collection of distinct objects. Roster form is one way to list those objects. We enclose them within curly braces. For example, a set containing the numbers 1, 2, and 3 would be written as 1, 2, 3. Tabular form, however, doesn't just list the elements. It organizes them into a table with rows and columns. So the key difference is the structure, a simple list versus a table. Next, the slide warns about incorrect pattern recognition. When you're constructing a table, you're trying to show a relationship between the elements. If you misidentify that relationship, your table won't accurately represent the set. For instance, if you're dealing with coordinates, like in our first example, the columns should clearly represent the x and y values and their connection. A wrong arrangement will give a misleading picture of the set. Finally, and this is a really important one, the slide emphasizes the need to avoid missing elements. When you're populating your table, it's easy to accidentally leave something out. Always double-check that every element that belongs to the set is included in your tabular representation. A missing element means your set is incomplete and therefore incorrect. Let's move on to the final slide of this tutorial on tabular form. This slide highlights some common mistakes students often make when working with this method of representing sets, and understanding these will help you avoid them in your work. So, keep these 3 points in mind as you practice working with tabular form. It's a powerful tool for organizing and visualizing sets, but it requires careful attention to detail. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope you now have a solid understanding of how to represent sets using tabular form.